was about 2 years before we decided to pay ourselves. So I was still making money off of social media. So that's how I supported myself. And then my co-founders had to find side things, which I know a lot of people say, you have to be 100% all in and invested in it. But when you're not making money, you need to find a way to support yourself. So yeah, they had some side gigs that they were working on while still working full-time on Rella. And then once we started, making more money with Rella 2.0, we all bumped ourselves up and got some raises since we could afford it. And now are actually making a salary, still not a high salary compared to, if we were to go off and work at like a big tech company or anything like that, but enough to support ourselves, which has been such an accomplishment. And it's been nice because it's money that we're actually making from our customers and our users and the income that we're generating and revenue that we're generating.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Practical Founders Podcast, where every week we hear an amazing story from a serious founder who built a valuable software company and did it without big funding. I'm your host, Greg Head, and this week my guest is Natalie Barbu, the CEO and co-founder of Rella at Rella.com. Rella is a social media content collaboration tool. It's an all-in-one that helps social media managers and others on the team to coordinate everything that goes on in creating content and publishing content for social media marketing, competing against all those one-off individual tools that drive people crazy when you put them all together. Rella is a Practical Founders success story. After their first try didn't really work, and Rella 2.0, as she calls it, figured it out. And in just over a year and 2 months, they hit 2 million ARR from a cold start. It's a really amazing success story after Rella 1.0 didn't make any progress at all, and they almost shut it down. But they pivoted, and it worked. It's a great story from Natalie Barbu. Hey, Natalie. Welcome to the Practical Founders Podcast.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Great. Well, I hear your voice. Before the podcast, I went through some of your social media channels, so your voice is very familiar to me. You've got a lot of content out there on YouTube and a lot of followers and podcast and all the rest of that. People say that to me sometimes, but you're up there in the content creator. Would you call yourself an influencer out there and YouTube
Yeah,
and otherwise? Yeah.
definitely. I think influencer has a bad connotation for some people, but I embrace it. I would consider myself that as well.
Why does it have a bad connotation? Is it because everybody says they're an influencer? Something like that?
I think because a lot of people assume influencers don't do much. Like, it's like, oh, you're just
Ah,
posting on social media. How hard can that be? Which
I
I
see.
agree. It's not the hardest job in the world, but I think it just has a negative connotation. So people try to say content creator, but to me, it means the same
Right.
thing.
Well, the fact that you started a new podcast, you've had several podcasts there, and your first episode, you had several sponsors, means people know you have an audience and you know how to play that game. So, and you've been doing it for a while. On one of your podcasts, you say you started with YouTube videos and, your own content when you were a teenager. Is that right? Something like that?
Yes. Yeah. So I started when I was just 15 years old on YouTube, actually. So this was even before Instagram.
Yeah.
And I started with makeup tutorials. Did
Fun.
not know what I was doing, filming on my laptop, editing on iMovie and filming on photo booth. But it was the first time I actually experienced having a community outside of just, your
Yeah.
friends and family. It was the first time that people that I didn't know were following me, were watching content, because since this was before Instagram, the only social media I had was Facebook. So that was only,
Right.
people that you knew in real life. So YouTube was my first
Ah.
community building platform, I would say.
Wow. So back in the day, so that was what would we say 2010, 11, something like that?
2011.
Okay. Well, that's great. And so but you're still on YouTube and as a content creator and influencer and other channels as well. But you have now a software product that's taken off, and we'll talk about that. That's the Rella software product here. So let's just start with what is Rella? And we'll go back to the history and how you got there and all the trials and tribulations. It's a great practical founder story. But what is Rella right now?
So Rella is a project management tool for social media teams. So I always describe it as somewhere between Notion and a content scheduler. And we really target social media managers, agencies, freelancers, anyone that works with social media content, has clients, has a team, is posting on multiple platforms. Those people are using Rella to manage their entire content system.
So it's not just, I know there's tons of tools for all of these. It's not just the coordinated posting. It's, this complicated team that is creating content, ideating, scripting, creating, reviewing, editing, approving, posting, right? As a collaborative kind of workspace kind of thing, not just another spreadsheet, to keep
Exactly.
track of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and
that's
people were using spreadsheets and other project management tools for so long, but then they also had the added content schedulers, the approval systems, and so we really streamline it and have it all in one place.
right. And you experienced that yourself, right? You had all of these tools. Did you have an agency before all of this?
Yes, so I was always a content creator starting from when I was 15, always did that as a side project, and then I was able to quit my job. I had graduated college, quit my job to do full-time content creation, but I always knew I wanted to own a business one day, and I always knew I could help other creators,
Yes.
brands on social media. So I actually did start an agency. It was a really small boutique agency, but I helped hundreds of creators with their personal brand, helping them make revenue. And then I also was a social media manager for multiple brands as well, helping them with their content strategy, posting, creating content for them. And while doing it full time and as an agency, I realized all of these inefficiencies and I really hated it. It made my experience way less enjoyable when I was running the agency because I hated all the systems that I was building.
Right. And there's a little, you had a pivot in your journey in the software company, Rella, Rella, there. We'll talk about that. So, how big is Rella this year in the social media marketing tools space?
Yeah, so we have about 4,000 people using Rella today. So that's free trials and active subscribers that are testing out or using Rella and in their everyday workflow. And we've been growing really quickly. So it's been really exciting to see. And as you mentioned, we did have a pivot. So all of these 4,000 people have come in the past year.
Yes. So in the last year, can you give us a size of how fast you're moving and what your revenues are and where you're headed?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a, little rocket ride success story.
Yeah, it's been really exciting and totally unexpected, if I'm being honest. Obviously, you
Yeah.
hope for it, but it has been really cool to see. So we started in August of 2024, so about a year ago.
Yeah.
Started at 0 because we completely pivoted and relaunched, and
Yeah.
we had pretty much no money in the bank at that point. It was really a Hail Mary attempt to save the company. So we started at 0. By July of this year, so less than a year later, 11 months after we launched, we hit $1 million in ARR. We're now in end of October, we're about to hit 2 million. We're right now at about 1.9. So in November, we should be hitting 2 million ARR. And yeah, that's just about 3 to 4 months after we hit 1 million. And then hopefully by the beginning of next year, we'll hit 3 million. And that's kind of the goal and the trajectory we're on.
Well, that's amazing here. And it's a really curious story because it isn't what you started with, you pivoted and it worked, right?
Yeah.
Which is, we sometimes hear about those stories, whether it was Slack or even Twitter was one of
hmm
those where people came up with a new idea after the first one didn't work so well. How many people do you have on your team these days, effective full-time employees?
It's just the 4 of us. So we're the 4 founding team. Um,
Okay.
yeah, small team. And we're actually now hiring 2 people, but
Okay.
it's just been the 4 of us this whole time.
So are these your first non-founder hires in the history of the company? I know you guys have been figuring this out together, but is this like a new phase? Now you've got non-founder employees?
Exactly. Yeah, with Rella 1.0, which is what we call before the pivot, we did have some contractors, but with this version, this is the first full-time employees that we're hiring outside of the founders. So it's scary and exciting at the same time. We actually just sent out an offer this morning, so hopefully, fingers
Okay.
crossed, they accept it.
Well, careful what you wish for, right? Now you've
True.
got employees and team members, and things get complicated. And, congratulations on all of that. Are you in Miami these days? I know you've been moving around.
Yeah, so me and one of my co-founders are based here in Miami, and then the other two of members of the team are in North Carolina. So we're split between the two.
Well, that's awesome. And, is it like a heavy rocket ride? Sometimes when things take off, right, a lot of weight falls on you. The product wasn't built to scale. It's a big catch-up game. It's kind of messy. You're throwing employees at it and things like that. Is it uh, pretty well organized, or is it a crazy mess right now?
We're still working on our systems, that's for
Okay,
sure.
yeah,
So
yeah.
bringing on these people where we were talking about it as a team, we're like, okay, we really need to get organized with our system because now we're bringing people into this that don't know us, that don't know how we
Yeah.
work. We need to streamline things a little bit, but obviously being part of a startup, you understand that you have to be a little scrappier. So I think for our size, and we're pretty good at having good organization and good systems. And I think part of it is because our team really loves each other. Like we really do all get along. We've all are really good friends at this point, and we're very honest with each other. We can be very transparent. There's a lot of respect there. So I think that that has helped, obviously, with the pressure with the growth at this high rate. But I also think sometimes it's best to just kind of go by the, day by day and
Yes,
just, like, see where things take you instead of planning
yes.
too much ahead. So, when we originally pivoted and relaunched, my developers, knew that, like, this system that we're building on, we had to build this new product in 2 months. So, the system that it was built on, they're like, "Well, but when we reach a certain number of users, we're gonna have to
Of course.
redo a
Uh-huh.
lot of this, but that will be a good problem if we get to that point. So we
Correct.
just need a launch. So we're going to start as simple as possible. And so we've had to go through a lot of different phases, even when it comes to the system that it's been built on has had to get a revamp already, even in this past year.
Yeah.
But it's all been good problems to have. So we like to remind ourselves of that when we do face a lot of pressure or a lot of problems.
So your founders are, now all friends because, and you're getting through this exciting time, which is very challenging. But you also lived through some challenging times where your first idea didn't really go, right? And you were,
Right.
headed towards no more money, and you guys lived through that together. So, it makes a stronger team, of course.
Totally. And it got to the point where, I mean, we had told our investors we were shutting down. My co-founders were looking for new jobs. They were applying to new
Yeah.
jobs.
Yeah.
Um, we all thought, like, what are we going to do next year? Like, what will our life look like in 2025? Because in 2024, we really thought it was over.
Yes. Well, and this is a practical founder story here. So Rella 2.0 is that practical founder. We didn't, we didn't have any money left. It's just us spending our time building this thing and selling it, and it's working, right? And it's, I guess you have enough revenue to start hiring people and so forth. But Rella 1.0 was started as, lightly funded, but more on the venture funded game, right? You raise a little funding there and effectively ran out of money, right, with your first idea.
Yeah, we had raised $1 million for the very first idea. It was pre-revenue. We were all very young first-time founders, had this idea of a creator platform to help creators manage their brand deals and their content and their goals, but that wasn't working. So we would always add features that now looking back really didn't make sense to add and didn't make sense for people who stumbled across our product for the first time, and it didn't make for a good user experience. But I think we were super desperate. We just thought if we add this feature, someone will come for this one feature. And as you know, that's not what it takes to build a good tool. It's not just adding a bunch of things together and hoping it works and hoping it sticks. It's being really intentional, picking a small audience, solving a real problem. And we just didn't
Okay.
do that. We were just really desperate and tried to scrap things together. And I do think that when you raise money, it's easier to spend other people's money. Like
Uh-huh.
you think, okay, I
I
have
think.
$1 million. Let me try to just throw things at a wall and see what works. And then when we spent the money and we had $25,000 left in the bank, that's when we realized, okay, we are going to shut down if nothing changes. And then we made that pivot. And since then, we haven't needed to raise. We've been profitable. We have healthy margins. And yeah, we're not planning on raising
Yeah,
anytime soon or hopefully at all.
right. So you did both the funded hurry up and, here's some money, kids and go build something. I mean, you have a big following and you know this space, and I'm sure there was a lot of trust that you're going to figure it out. And eventually you did. But the first version of Rella didn't really work for a lot of reasons. We'll talk about that in the journey and what lessons you learned there. So, you know. Most first ventures, really struggle. And that's when you learn a lot of the hard lessons that, help the second venture go. It's one of the reasons second time founders are so appreciated is because there's a higher likelihood they will avoid those early mistakes. Sometimes it's just timing, but a lot of times it's, trying to be many things to many people and so forth here. So let's go back to your background here in your career. I know you have an engineering degree on top of all of your content creation around fashion and makeup and, other things like that. That's a very interesting combination to have. Did you think you were going to be an engineer at some point?
Yeah, so I originally went into industrial engineering, truthfully, because both my parents are industrial engineers. They
Ah,
definitely pushed me in that direction, I would say. I always wanted to do something a bit more creative, entrepreneurial. And I
yeah,
remember at the time I was doing YouTube, I was doing a lot of fashion and beauty content, and I wanted to go to school for fashion at first. And my parents really discouraged that. They were like,
yeah,
you
engineer
can do
parents, right?
fashion.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like, you can do fashion with YouTube and, on the side. You don't need
for a
to
hobby. Yes.
get a degree in it. And so I went the complete opposite way then, which was in engineering. And I decided to get my degree in engineering because I thought it could open doors for me. It'll make me a problem solver, a better thinker. It looks better on paper than other degrees. And so I decided to do that. And I was always good at math. So I always enjoyed it.
Okay.
So it wasn't
Yeah.
something that I wasn't good at or I didn't enjoy. I did enjoy problem solving. I always loved all my math classes that I was taking. So ended up
Good.
doing that and then getting a job at Accenture after college. So I ended up going the consulting route, but that was short-lived. It was 9 months in and I quit because I was making more money on social media than I was at Accenture, so started to do my own thing after that.
Okay. And so you were making money, being a YouTuber, I guess,
Yep.
and, a content creator, and you created your own agency and helped out there. At what point did you say, I need to get into the software business? I mean, did you think you wanted to get in the software business or were you trying to solve some other problem?
It was pretty unintentional, I'll say. So I am a pretty impulsive person in terms of starting businesses and I going for my ideas. I'll just have an idea and start researching how to do it
Yeah.
and how to implement it. And
Entrepreneurial?
I've always been that way. And so when I had this idea of Rella, I was super naive. I thought that I had this idea of, this software tool that could help manage brand deals, content, social media management, post across all platforms. That was the original idea. And so it was similar to what it is today, but for creators and more so for brand deals and things like that. That was kind of Rella 1.0. And I thought it would be passive income. I was like, oh, I can have someone build this
Ah,
and
interesting.
then someone could pay me $5 a month and it was like a downloadable that they would hit
Yeah,
download
yeah.
and then it just works. I had no idea that software required a lot more maintenance, a lot more work. And I was just super naive, but I just knew that this was a problem I wanted to solve. And so I knew that I needed someone to help me develop this and build it. So in my mind, I was going to pay someone $10,000, let's say, and they could help me build it. And I started talking to engineers and developers and realized quickly that, oh no, this
Yeah.
is a company idea. This is not a project. I'm going to need someone in-house to help me, and this is going to be something I will continuously need to work on and market, and it's actually a full-fledged business. And so once realized that, which was pretty quickly after talking to engineers,
Yeah.
I started looking more so for co-founders rather than just a developer I could hand this off to.
Right.
And so that's where I started taking it a bit more seriously, looking to find people that would be a good fit to work together with. And I met my co-founders through a mutual friend. So I had asked around. I knew I went to an engineering school, and NC State was a really big engineering school. So
Uh-huh.
I thought there has to be people here or people that I graduated with that know how to code. So I had asked friends, like, do you know anyone that knows how to code that could help me
Yeah.
build this? And then one of my good friends introduced me to my now co-founders who they had a software consultancy. So they were actually helping develop apps for people in the Raleigh area. And so I had reached out to them. We started working together on just a consulting basis. Like they were helping
Yeah.
me really bring it to life. And then they asked me if they could work on it full time with me and then we could be co-founders. And it was at that point where I was like, I need co-founders. So this is perfect. We really enjoyed working together. And so then we just decided to become co-founders and create the company.
Yeah. So you quickly got through, and a lot of people have ideas and then they can't figure out like, oh, it's a much, bigger idea. It's an actual business, a lot more going on. And then getting co-founders is really challenging. You mentioned your developers now. Are these the co-founders? So, they've been investing their time, right, in this asset, right? I don't know if any of you are getting paid much yet, but was that the game? Is you can have a piece of the company if you help me build it?
Yeah, yeah. So at first I was paying them just for their consultancy services
Yeah.
to help me figure out how to build this. And then yeah, once they became co-founders, we all got equity in it. We were doing it all for free. Thankfully now we can pay ourselves, so it's been nice to have
Hey.
an actual salary, but
Yeah.
in the beginning it was all free work and just sweat equity.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, I have an idea. I need to find a technical co-founder who can build it for equity, right? A lot of people say that, but you actually did it. How long did you go before, building this before you guys were able to pay yourself? I don't know if you paid yourself out of the $1 million of funding for Rella 1.0, but how long did
Yeah.
you go without paying yourself?
It was about 2 years before
Yes.
we decided to pay ourselves. So I was still making money off of social media.
Yeah.
So that's how I supported myself. And then my co-founders had to find side things, which
Yeah.
I know a lot of people say, you have to be 100% all in and invested in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you're not making money, you need to find a way to
Yeah.
support yourself. So yeah, they had some side gigs that they were working on while still working full time on Rella.
Well, I just wrote about this on LinkedIn. I mean, survival is half of the game in the beginning. To
Yeah.
survive long enough to find the thing that works, right? You keep trying and you keep trying and keep trying. And if you run out of money and you don't have any backstop, right? And, I generally don't recommend spend all your savings on this. Like, okay, don't quit your day job or get a side gig or, whatever. It's that probably, I mean, did you guys all have a side gig kind of things and through Rella 1.0?
Yeah, so once we raised money, we did start paying ourselves very little. So it was
Yeah.
not a lot of money at all, but it was a little bit to support ourselves. And then once we started, making more money with Rella 2.0, we all bumped ourselves up and got some raises since we could afford it. And now are actually making a salary, still not a high salary compared to, if we were to go off and work at like a big tech company or anything like that, but
Yeah.
enough to support ourselves, which has been such an accomplishment. And it's been nice
Yeah,
because
congrats, a
it's
major
now.
milestone. It's one of the milestones that we don't hear much about. When do you finally pay yourself as a
Right,
practical
and
fun?
it's money that we're actually making from our customers and our users and the income that we're generating and revenue that
Yeah.
we're generating versus money that we raised from investors, which is really cool.
Well, it says that these are you say they're VCs and they invested, well, like, probably a safe note, something simple,
Yep.
right, to raise $1 million, and usually they're like, Maybe this will work, here you go, here's some checks and get going." But the fact that you all had kind of side gigs, and were trying to be efficient says they were pretty practical. They weren't like, "You need to be all in and 100 hours a week and, let's give it a chance here." How did
Right.
your investors, I don't know if you have a board or if you spend much time with them, how did they feel about Rella 1.0 journey and, you know, not,
Yeah.
making the turn that it wasn't really working?
Yeah, so they were all super supportive. Thankfully, we didn't give up any board seats, so the board is just my co-founders and I.
Yeah, okay.
Um, so
Or
we
safe
do
notes, that's
still.
common, right?
Right, right. But they were super supportive. Like, I have heard nightmare investor stories, and ours have been nothing but great
Oh,
and
great.
helpful, and
Yeah.
we don't have any negative thing to say about them when we told them that we were shutting down. Because at first, we told them about the pivot and that this is what we're thinking about, but it got to a point where we were so tight with money that realistically something had to really happen, like skyrocket, in order for us to survive, which thankfully it did, but we didn't think that that was going to happen because we spent years working on it and it nothing skyrocketed. So when we had told them we were shutting down, they were all very supportive, saying, we see how hard you've worked. We see that you've tried. That's all we ask at this stage is that, you put in all your effort and that you try. And one of our investors actually gave us the advice. They're like, okay, you have 25K left. You have 30K left in the bank. He was like, use all of it. Spend all of it, try as much as you can in this last few months to really make it work. He's like, I don't care about getting a couple grand back. Like, use all the money in the bank
Yeah,
until you have zero to try. And we really took that advice and it obviously helped save the company.
great. Well, how did you feel going through this? And I know, as a creator myself a little bit, I, have a big LinkedIn following and, not at the same level, but as a creator, there's a lot of identity that we bring to our content and our audience and our relationship there. And then as founders, we create an identity around the founder. You put this out in the world and it's part of us. And right, if it doesn't work, was it really stressful for all four of you that whatever you thought was going to work wasn't working?
It was more so really sad because we have developed a really good relationship with each other.
Yeah.
And it was more like, wow, this is so sad that this isn't gonna be the working
Yeah.
dynamic anymore. If
Interesting.
we all get off and get our own jobs and start our own things, like we're never gonna have this working relationship anymore. And so it was really sad. I remember when we were talking about the team, like some of us were crying. Like it was just like a sad day more so than stressful. Because I think the stressful part was continuously trying to get something to work and then it not working. But then once we came to the decision of shutting down, that was more just like a really sad day. And then a few days later, we had a viral video, and then we're like, wait a second, maybe
What
we don't
happened
have
there?
to. We'll
So
have
you
to keep
literally got to
seeing.
the point of, all right, guys, we'll give it a shot, but it probably won't work. And let's go,
Yeah.
let's figure out how to do something else. And then what
hmm
happened?
So yeah, we decided, most likely we're gonna shut down. So start looking for new jobs. We just made that decision so people could start, looking for other offers and jobs so
Right.
that it doesn't come down to the end and then, you don't have an income. But we always said we're going to keep trying. Like if something changes, we're all in it. We're all still here. We're all in it. But if it doesn't, maybe have a backup plan. And so we were still operating as a business. We were still posting content. We were still developing the product until it literally hit zero, if that were the case. And so we had a video. I remember we talked to our investors, we talked to the team on a Thursday and a Friday. We split it up between 2 days. By Monday, we had a viral video that completely skyrocket our number of new trials. So we were going from getting like 2, 3 new trials a day. Like it was not a lot at all, not enough to support the company. And then I remember refreshing our Stripe and seeing the entire page full of trials from that day. And usually I just see like 3-line
Yeah.
items from that
Yeah.
day.
Right.
And I was like, wait, what? I was like, is this a glitch? Is this a Stripe glitch? Like I didn't know what was going on. And then I started looking and I was like, wait, this is like 40 new trials today. What is going on? And so I looked on Instagram and TikTok and a video had like 60K views, 70K views. Like not a crazy
One of
amount, but
your
way more.
videos or what was
It
it?
was Rella's video.
Okay. Yeah.
One of Rella's videos had 70K views on Instagram and then 50K views on TikTok. So it was both platforms going up at the same time.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, this is so weird. Let's see what happens. This is so exciting. We started getting more customer emails. We started getting more questions. We started getting more followers. And so we started posting every single day, which we were posting multiple times a week before. But at this point, we're like, we can't lose this momentum. We have to start posting every single day, similar style videos. And because that video was doing well, some other videos started doing well too. And so then that picked up momentum. And we went from making $3,500 in October to $21,000 in November to $45,000 in December, and then so on. And by the time we hit February, we were profitable because our burn was also super low.
Yes. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, by February, we hit profitability. And then from there, it's just been
Okay.
going
So
up.
was it like you say, Rella 1.0, the product that didn't really get much traction and revenue and, for creators? And then the video happened. Was the video talking about Rella 1.0 or did you tell a new story, or what happened there?
So that was at the point where we had already pivoted. So we had pivoted, but we
Oh,
were only 2 months into the pivot.
I
So
see.
we had pivoted, we were 2 months in. So it was getting like slightly more traction than Rella 1.0, but it still
Okay.
wasn't
I see. You
exactly
had
what we
already tried
needed.
something. Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then that video was talking about Rella 2.0, so the product that you see today, but it was a
Yeah.
skit. So it wasn't a salesy ad. It was me acting as a social media client and a social media
Ah,
manager, filming kind of both sides of it. And it
right.
was acting as, the social media manager is giving their clients the calendar, asking them to approve it. And then the social media client is annoyed that there's so many tools needed to just do this simple
Yes.
thing. And then the
Right.
social media manager says, oh, wait, there's actually a better solution. I just found this new tool, Rella, and it was like a 30-second skit, super easy to
30
film,
seconds.
probably took me 5 minutes, like, really simple. I did not think it was gonna do anything, and then it just took off, and everyone in the comments was like, "Oh my god, I've been looking for a tool like this. I need to try this. This is exactly what I need." And so
Right.
from then, we started doing a lot more of those types of videos, and they started doing really well, and still to this day, those videos do really well, like the skit-style videos. We always include them in our content strategy.
This podcast is sponsored by my friends at Cypress Growth Capital. At some point in your growth, you'll know you could grow faster with some outside funding, but selling a part of your company to VCs would change your whole game. And we know that's the most expensive growth capital on the planet. That's why so many practical SaaS founders I know have partnered with Cypress Growth Capital when they hit that predictable growth inflection point. For 15 years, Cypress has provided non-dilutive growth funding to bootstrap SaaS founders, including 6 successful founders I've interviewed here on this podcast. Cypress provides enough patient capital for you to invest in your growth without giving up any of your precious equity. They leverage their entrepreneurial and operational experience to provide savvy strategic guidance to help you grow efficiently and build your valuable software company faster. Go to cypressgrowthcapital.com/practical to learn more and set up a time with Cliff Centel to see if there's a fit. Now back to our program. Yeah, you could relate to their problems, and they have the problem. There's too many tools, right? And do you
Exactly.
say all in one for, Rella these days, or,
Yeah.
some version of that? I mean, I guess that's the proposition is you don't need 22 tools to do all this. And it gets multiplied when you have contractors and multiple clients and, right, this matrix that goes on. I'm sure it's a nightmare with multiple tools. I'm sure there's great skits about all that stuff. But
Yeah.
is it an all-in-one, for the modern agency, social agency?
Yeah, we do use the term all-in-one a lot. We typically say all-in-one, project management, streamline your workflow. So those are the types of things that we say. And I would say people call us all-in-one more than we call us all-in-one
Ah,
because we're always scared to say all-in-one because it's always one thing that you don't have.
yeah.
But we're referred to a lot by our clients as the all-in-one tool. So we have adopted it throughout the past few
Yeah.
months.
And is that your philosophy, is stop using 22 tools? We'll do it in ours, and if we don't do it now, we'll do it soon enough, right? Like your roadmap is to get the rest of the alls, in the
Exactly.
one? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I get that. And so, because I don't know if you've invented a new, the use case was there, and there was all these tools, but you're just doing it simpler and easier in one tool. Or are you doing something that none of these tools did before?
So, especially when we started, it was putting these tools together and streamlining it. So we're
Right.
saving you time because it's all instead of having to go from tool to tool, copy paste,
Yeah,
duplicating your
yeah.
work,
Uh-huh.
it's now all done in Rella and then the
I see.
automation of auto posting. So that was not reinventing the wheel. There are other content schedulers out there, there's project management tools out there.
Yeah.
We've just simplified and streamlined the process. I'd say with our new tool, our new feature, Ella, which is our AI content creative strategist,
There
that
we go.
is very unique. So that is something that I don't see other tools having. Like other tools might have AI caption generators, AI content ideas, but what we do is we connect all of your social media accounts. So we actually can see every post, every
What's
caption,
working?
your
Yeah.
tone of voice, your analytics, what works, what doesn't. So we see all of that without you having to tell us what works and what doesn't. And then we also allow you to upload a persona or fill out a persona, which is just do's and don'ts, tone of
Yeah.
voice, use
Yeah.
these emojis, don't use this, just to really make sure that we understand your voice. And then you're able to talk to Ella and really come up with different content strategies, analyze our analytics, come up with content ideas, and then it actually adds it to Rella. So if you're using ChatGPT takes some time to get to know you. And
Yeah.
then if you're using it as a content strategist, eventually you have to migrate that to whatever tool you're using to manage all your content or your ideas. Whereas in Rella, we automatically add it. So you don't have to select the platforms. You don't have to add it to the calendar. You don't have to write it in the notes. Ella is doing all of that. So we're
Wow.
working on building it out to be more autonomous and more agent-like as well. But as of now, I haven't seen anything like it with other tools, and we've
Okay.
gotten a lot of compliments on how good Ella actually is.
And that's in the product right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And is that like what you might have done is when somebody says, okay, we have this kind of business, we have this kind of audience, we have this kind of topics, what would you suggest for social media? And you would say, well, videos about these topics would be great on YouTube and this kind of Instagram strategy. Is that what Ella does right now? Like, you know, those kind of
Yeah,
ideas?
and we wanted it to be very flexible so that you can talk to it instead of having just, like, preset things that Ella does. You can actually just chat with it, and then
Yeah.
it really works as, like, an assistant or a team member. So if you wanna say, "Hey, Ella, create the next week's worth of content based on what's done well in the past, and what do you think will do well? I want short form content, and I want graphic ideas," let's say. It will come up with a bunch of those ideas and actually add it to your calendar. You can approve or reject it if you want or edit it. But then it comes up with the script, it comes up with the caption, it comes up with the idea,
Okay.
and it tells
Yeah.
you why it thinks it's gonna do well based on what's done well in the past and what's been trending on social media. So it's really cool and it makes life so much easier. Like, we are able to plan our entire month's worth of content in an hour or less now, which was not the case in the past.
Okay. Well, that sounds magic, right? You did the first magic of not having multiple tools, and you quickly, within a year, got to new magic of AI helping. And, AI is not that useful if you have 22 tools that are not connected to each other, that don't know
Right.
each other. So it's, relying on your all in one and connected to all of your accounts where you could see everything and manage everything in one place. It's kind of, you know, AI to get things done kind of needs an all in one, right? As opposed to
Exactly.
bopping around.
And we did not want to include AI just for the sake of AI. So when we had pivoted, it was August of 2024. AI was the buzzword as it is
Yeah.
today still. And everyone was like, okay, well, where's the AI component in this? And we didn't have one back then. And we didn't have one until July of this year. So it's fairly recent. And everyone was asking, like, when are you going to add AI? Like, what's the AI that you're going to be adding? Investors asked that question. And we wanted to make sure that the AI we were adding was very intentional and was actually going to save time and be useful, because there's so many AI tools out there that are cool, and, "Oh, it can generate a photo of you looking like a 1950s yearbook." Like, "Okay, cool," but is that really useful but after you do it once? Or, it's not that helpful.
Right.
Or what's the difference? Why would I just not use ChatGPT for this? So we took a lot of time with thinking, okay, how is this actually going to be helpful? And we needed to build out our other components before it actually was helpful. So we needed to have analytics. We needed to have, the automations that we have now. We needed to have it built out a little bit more before we added AI. And we really wanted to make sure that we thought a lot about it before we just like slapped something in and was
Yeah.
like,
Thank you.
it's AI.
Yeah, that's great. So let me get this straight. You built one product and then it didn't work. Did you rebuild it as a second product, a different code base and things like that? Or
Completely
okay.
different
So
language,
you
different code
rebuilt it
base.
and then you got it going and you didn't just build like the niche feature with your co-founder coders. You built a platform, an all-in-one kind of thing that does many things. And then you added AI that actually is useful and works and integrated in the experience. Did you do this with, let's say, your co-founder coders
Yeah,
and
it was
anybody else?
no, it was just the 4 of us, and
Okay.
my 2 of my co-founders are developers, so it was just the 2 of them doing the
Right, but
entire
that's a lot
code
for
base.
even 2 developers, right? 10 years ago, you'd be saying, "I have this idea, we need all this," it's an all-in-one and, here's a team of 20 people in India or something like that, but 2 people accomplish this pretty quickly and very practically there. So it's part of the
Mhm.
practical founder revolution. You don't other than surviving, you don't need tons of engineers like you used to. That was the first move to raise money because you need to build something that's substantial. And you guys have done that. It's really amazing.
Thank you.
What kind of feedback are you getting now about your product? Are they demanding more features or fixes? And I don't know, is it keeping up with the scale that's already moving through it?
Yeah, our community is incredibly active, which is really a blessing. It can definitely get overwhelming sometimes, but it is
Yeah.
a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
And we have one thing that we're known for within our community is that we actually listen to our customers and we implement their
Okay.
feedback very quickly. So
Hmm.
we don't outsource customer support. Me and Natasha, one of my other
There you go.
co-founders, we do customer support. So when you're emailing us about a bug, that's me answering
Yeah.
because we don't want to outsource it. We want to be very on the know of what's going on with the product, how our customers feel, because I think that's the only way to really ship things quickly and fix things quickly and know what
Yeah.
your customers want without having to pay them for surveys and pay them for focus groups or anything like that. Like we don't do any of that. And we have a public roadmap so people know what we're working on, what's in store, what's coming next. And we also have a portal in the same tool for feature requests. So people
What do
can
you
leave
use
feature
for your
requests.
feature request and voting in Portal? What do you use?
Canny.
Okay. Sarah Hum was on the podcast, right?
Oh, I need to listen to that.
And
Canny
she
is
and
amazing.
her partner, the coder guy,
Mhm.
traveled the world and built this thing and got it up and running. So isn't that awesome? She's in Toronto these days.
Wow, I Canny is the best, so I
Okay.
need to
Well, I'll
listen to
connect
that.
you too. I'm sure you could have a great conversation about that. And, I think it's just an amazing story to say in a year's time, you're already did you say you're basically at a 2 million run rate, in a
Yeah,
year and a half, something like that with
yeah, a
this
year
product?
and 4 or 5 months maybe? Mhm.
Okay. So what can you tell founders in the audience here about what you did differently the second time that worked, right? Now that you can look back at it, what did you change that made a difference? What did you not know when you started that you know now? Can you pick out a few of those? I know, you had the free trial game and you don't do that anymore, but you want to talk about that and anything else?
Yeah.
There's some great lessons, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh, so many lessons. So, one of the biggest ones, I'd say, there were 2 things that I think really killed the first company, and the first one was our pricing model. So, the fact that we had a free tier. So, we have a free trial now, but it's a 2-week free trial. You have to enter your credit card, and after that, you have to pay.
I get it.
We do not have a free tier. For Rella 1.0, not only did we have a free tier, we were a free product for a long time, thinking
Mm,
that as long as we get a lot of people, that's what we need to focus on at first is growth, and then we can figure out monetization
I
later.
know. I know.
Absolutely horrible idea. I would never advise that. I would never do that again because if you do not have paying customers, you have no idea what's working and what's not working. You're solely looking at vanity metrics of
So
downloads,
the
users.
signal was off because you had trials and people maybe playing with it, and
Exactly.
if they don't pay anything, maybe they play with it, maybe they don't, right?
Exactly.
So
So the second we added a premium tier, so we still had a free tier, and then we added like a pro tier for more features, no one signed up. It was
ouch.
like we thought, "Oh, okay, we're gonna have signups now." No one. We even priced it as low as like $5 a month. Like we were wanting to see, let's get people.
Interesting.
We had a couple people sign up, but like I think we were making $900 a month. Like it was not good. And we were like, "Wait, what? Why is no one signing up? Are we giving away too much for free?" So we started giving less away for free and adding more things in the premium plan. Still, nothing really moved the needle. If we would have started charging from day one, we would have known that and we would have probably pivoted way faster. But because we didn't, we had these fake metrics that we were looking at. The
Uh-huh.
signal was off, like you said,
Yeah.
and we had no idea what was working and what wasn't. So I would never put anything for free anymore, and especially if you're a tool that is providing value and you are helping someone with their business, you shouldn't be free. So that's number one. And then number two was we were building for everyone and trying all of these different things. Like I mentioned earlier, we had so many features, and we thought, oh, well, we can be for social media managers, we can be for agency owners, we can be for creators, we can be for influencers that talk about that are solo, we can be for talent managers, podcast networks. We thought we could be for everyone. And we started talking to all of these different subsets of people or groups of people, and they were all saying, we would love to use Rella if only it had this one feature. So
And
we would
everybody's
build it.
got a different view of what they need.
Right. So we would build one feature for all these different groups of people, and then it was just a bad product. So I think you really have to focus on who you're building for, what is the problem, solve it as simple as possible, and then from there you can expand. But even for us now, we're going deeper on things that we've already built on. We're
Yes.
not going
Yes.
wider.
Yes.
Um and that's the key, I think. So those two things really killed the business, and if we would have learned those earlier, we would have pivoted sooner and probably saved a lot of money.
Well, part of the startup game is to see, right?
Yeah.
And some things that are free work, but it's a common kind of thing of get your paid users. Even Sarah at Canny talks about this. When people are asking for features, Canny actually understands who's paying more, right?
Mhm.
So you can listen to the ones who care the most and pay the most, right? To follow that trail more the free users and so forth. So, and it's also very common to be everything to everybody when you start and
Yep,
just see what happens. And then you realize that doesn't work and nobody can hear you and your product becomes many things to many people. It's, the not best of breed. It's the worst of everything. But
exactly.
did you decide that, in this pivot, what was your pivot foot? Was it, we're going to be the tool for agencies that have the most complicated problem and care the most and do this all day long and make money with this? Is that was that your pivot move?
Yeah, so we decided we were gonna drop creators from our audience. So
Why
originally we
is
were a
that?
creator tool. Creators are really hard to sell to.
Okay,
Um,
there you go. They're
uh,
cheap and yeah, right.
they're very cheap, they're scrappy, so they do a lot of things on their own, and they don't have good systems. And usually if they get to a point where they are making a lot of money and they can invest in their business, they typically invest in people
Yes.
than systems and tools. So they're not paying for tools. So we should have figured that out sooner, but again, we were a free tool, so we didn't
Well,
know.
you figured it out. Yeah.
Right, and, so yeah, we dropped creators completely. We said we're not a creator tool anymore, and that also caused a lot of confusion when we were a creator tool because we started we started getting people that were like, "Oh, wait, I'm a social media manager, and I thought you were for creators." And so we have intentionally really not targeted creators in our promotion, in our marketing, on our website. We really try not to mention it. Even though creators use us, there are some creators that use us. We don't want to be a creator tool because it confuses businesses, and then businesses think, "Oh, I can't use this because it's a creator tool." So
So you're
we
more for businesses, meaning agencies and, everybody's doing social media content these days or should, but you're not
Mhm.
for those super influencers that are very independent small businesses, scrappy, right? You're
Right.
for businesses that do this with organized teams.
Right, and if you're a creator and you
Okay.
treat yourself like a business, great, you can use Rella, but we don't wanna market for creators because then businesses don't think it's for them.
Interesting. Well, it's like the old adage about don't be a startup for other startups, right? For scrappy companies that have no money, right? So
Right,
a little bit like
right.
that. So, wow, that's amazing here. So, and now you have free trial with a credit card. How do you price it now? Is it user based or output based or outcome based?
Yeah, so when we started Rella 2.0, we only had one tier. It was one flat fee per month per seat. So we charged
Okay.
it per seat, so per team member. And the reason for that is actually because every other social media scheduler, if you notice, usually it's not per seat, it's actually per social space. So it's how many clients you have, how many accounts are you managing. That's how they price them. That can get so expensive though. If you have two people on your team and you're managing 10
Right.
accounts, you're now paying
Right.
for 10 accounts instead of two people. We just thought that was a bit backwards. And then once it gets too expensive for those people, they end up using tools like Notion, and they really don't use content schedulers as much anymore. And they just say, you know what, I'm going to post manually because it's too expensive to use this content scheduler because I don't I have 2 people but 10 clients. So we decided we're going to be opposite of them. We want to be known as a project management tool. So we always say we're project management for social teams. We're not a content scheduler. We have a content scheduling feature, but we're project management for social media teams. And so with that, we embody more of a project management pricing model. So we're per seat. So if you look at Notion, if you look at ClickUp, they all charge per seat, and that's also what we do.
So it's actually the best value for the people that have the most acute problem, the most accounts, the most clients, the multiples start, right? The
Exactly.
confusion starts, and you're the best deal for them, right?
Exactly. Hmm.
Okay. Well, I get that. That's like your pricing is helping reflect your positioning, meaning who you're for and what you do and so forth there. So what are your first 2 hires going to do?
Yeah, so one's an additional software engineer, so really helping with
Okay.
speeding up
Go
the
faster.
development. And then the other one is a community and growth associate, so helping on the other side of the business with really establishing our community, getting it integrated into more community groups, because that really helped build Rella, and then helping us with marketing and growth. So still very scrappy roles, I would say, where they're joining a very small team, so it's not going to be super niche and you're just doing social media marketing. Like you're doing anything that touches our community and growth.
And are you hiring scrappy people and not people who have lived within an orderly organization?
Yeah, that's definitely what we looked for in the interview process is who have you worked with in the past? Can you be quick on your feet? Are you a self-starter? Are you good working by yourself and remotely? While also working collaboratively with the team, but we were not micromanagers, so we need to make sure that you're doing what you need to do without anyone hovering over you. And I think we found some really great candidates. But yeah, there's definitely a difference when we've interviewed people that have only worked corporate their entire lives, and um,
Corporate.
yeah, and it's not their fault, but we need someone that is a bit scrappier.
Yeah. So you went to 2 million ARR in basically a year, just a little bit more. How did you get those customers? This is always the challenge. We've talked about your product and building it and getting kind of your ICP and a little bit better product market fit, but how did you get the audience to convert? What did you do? I mean, was it really just your social media video and content that made it happen or something else?
Definitely social media helped, so it was not the only thing. Social
Okay.
media was a big driver, and it was Rella's social media. It was not my personal social media. My
Oh,
personal
you
social
didn't bring
media
your 300,000 YouTube followers into
no.
this, in one step or something like that, right?
If only it were that easy, but
Okay,
a lot
that's
of
right.
my audience, they're not our ideal target
Okay, there we
audience,
go.
so it was a lot of
Yeah.
Rella's growth, and I think one of the things was obviously social media, but then really listening to our customers. So even when we had 50 customers, we really listened to them, and we would always add the features that they wanted if it obviously made sense with our roadmap, and we would do it quickly because those quick wins of even small things like, "Oh, I wish
Yes,
the
turns people
calendar could
on.
be
Wow.
I
Yeah.
wish the calendar was color coded." That's really not that hard for us to build. Building that and then people being like, "Oh my gosh, they listen. They added this." That then spread the word of mouth really quickly. So I think just listening to our audience, responding to them, getting on calls with them, actually implementing the feedback that they're giving us, sharing, "Hey, we heard this. Now look what's in the app," and getting people excited was definitely helpful. And then getting integrated in community groups. So we're super big on community. And what I mean by that is like
Yes.
there's so many Facebook groups for social media managers,
Uh-huh.
paying community groups where people pay to be a part of a group that does monthly webinars and monthly speakers. So we would reach out to the organizers of those groups and say, "Hey, we have this tool. We'd love to give a demo to your audience." And even if it was 50 people, those 50 people were like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool." And then they would sign on to Rella, they would really like it, they would post about it on social media, and then that kind of snowballed. So it's not things that scale, but it actually helped. And then also doing one-on-one demos. We had a really low price point. It was about starting at $25 a month. Most
Per
people that have a
user,
tool
right?
per
Yeah.
user,
Yeah.
but most people that have a tool that starts at $25 a month are not doing one-on-one demos.
Correct.
We did because what did we have to lose? We had the time. We wanted to get to know our customers.
That's right.
It was the best way to get feedback, because you're doing a free demo, you're not paying them for their time. You're showing them the product, and then you're hearing directly what they have to say
Yes.
about it and
Uh-huh.
answering their questions. And
Right.
that personalized touch means like they're way more likely to convert and give it a try after they've already spent one-on-one time with you. So we would do 10 demos a day at one point. Like once we
Yeah.
were, and yeah, that's only 10 people. That's not necessarily scalable, but it was at the stage we were at. So I think too many small companies see what really large companies are doing, and they see, oh, okay, these super large companies, they're not doing one-on-one demos. They have a whole
Yeah.
sales team. They're, I don't know, like have 3 tiers to choose from. They are way more advanced. Like, they're not doing community groups and speaking to a group of 10 people. They're promoting it on, like, I don't know, bigger podcasts or something. I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whereas we were like, "Okay, we're really small. We need to get into these really small groups, and then we can get feedback, we can continue to learn, and then it can expand." And so that really helped. So I'd say, like, those 3 things are, like, the biggest drivers.
Well, between you having your experience doing this, but also spending time in support with customers, you're the frontline support, you're doing a lot of demos. You probably didn't get any of that signal in Rella 1.0 when people had free trials and you try to get them on the phone, talk about it, and they're like, "No," right? You
Right.
didn't get any signal, but you're pretty close to knowing of all the features you could build, what are the next ones, right? You have a sense for it between what would
Exactly.
people want on the front end and demand on the back end, right?
Exactly. And when you have a free tool, why would anyone give you feedback? If they don't like it, they'll kinda just stop
Go
using it
away.
or using it every now and then, but they don't have any
And that's
skin
no
in the
feedback
game.
other than, yeah, silence. You can't iterate on silence is the old
E
saying. Yeah.
exactly. If someone's paying you, you will hear everything that they have to say, and it's good, it is good. Like,
Yeah,
obviously, it can get stressful, but, like, we hear everything. Like, even, like, niche little things that I'm like, "I would never email a company about this, like, little thing," but, like, I'm so glad that people do. Like, it's not a bad thing that they're emailing us, it is a
right.
good thing. I'm just always so amazed of, like, the things people email.
So are you doing social media influencer marketing? Like, doing affiliate programs with people with large audiences in your customer base?
We do. So we started doing influencer campaigns recently. We do have an affiliate program where people can get $10 for every person they refer, and that's any of our users. That's not just
Does that
influencers.
work?
Yeah, we have about 600 and something people that have signed up to the affiliate program, and we've paid out thousands of dollars,
Okay,
so
right.
it definitely works. And then when it comes to influencers, we've seen our ROI in that as well. That is definitely something that takes more time, though. I think influencer campaigns, it's hit or miss
Ah,
because, like, you might pay an influencer $1,000 and they get 0 people to sign up for your product. So then you have to learn. It's a constant learning and iterating of, like, "Okay, why didn't this work?" But then also a lot of influencer campaigns are brand awareness, where maybe the person doesn't use the influencer's promo code at that moment, maybe they don't click that link, but they hear you enough, they hear the name Rella enough times, and they'll check you out down the line, and that
yeah,
influencer's video pushed them to it. So it's
yeah.
a mix of,
The
you
old
have to think
branding game and
constant.
marketing, it's not directly attributable, but,
Right.
yes. So you mentioned 4 founders, 2 coders, yourself, in the middle of
Mhm.
everything, and there's one other person. What does that person do?
She is really head of product/customer success, I'd say. She started as a
Okay.
designer, so she started doing, like, all of our screens and designs and branding. She now has since evolved to customer success, so she does all of our demos. She is on the pulse with our customers. She does all of our email marketing campaigns, reaching out to customers. Me and her work hand in hand with marketing a lot, but she focuses more on middle of the funnel, I always say, so people that have already heard about Rella, how to
Yeah.
engage them, and I focus more on top of funnel, where, like, getting people to hear about Rella, educating them on what Rella is, and, like, bringing brand awareness to Rella.
Okay. Well, where do you see this going, Natalie? Your revenues are going to grow faster than your hiring. That's really exciting. And this is taking off and it's moving very quickly, but you're listening and reacting pretty well. So I'm going to say that's going to continue for a while. Where do you see this going? It could grow pretty fast and get pretty big.
I ideally would love to get acquired one day. That
Okay.
would be the end goal for us, to someone that actually really believes in what we're building, wants to see it continue to scale and grow and help more businesses with their social media, because I see the power of social media with the business. It literally transformed our business, that
Yeah.
if you're not on social media as a business, like, you're missing out.
You're
so
missing
much.
out.
And I think most people know that now, but we want to be the tool that really enables them to run their social media and their content and get in front of the right users. So yeah, hopefully one day an acquisition, but as of now, we're seeing it through and we're just going to continue to watch it grow and obviously push for it to grow and build out a tool that hand in hand with our customers and our community.
Well, you have investors, the safe note investors who, they're not safes are not actually technically very safe for investors because if, something happens or goes away, you don't have any control over that. It just happens. But you'll pay them back, right, with an acquisition someday. Do you imagine? I mean, do you have a number in mind? Like, let's get this to 10 million or 20 million or something like that? Or, do you have a milestone that the founders kind of say that might be interesting? Let's shoot for that.
Yeah, we honestly are more not short-sighted because I think that that's a negative thing, but we really think about things like, okay, what's the next milestone and how can we
Yeah, there
get
we go.
there?
Yeah.
So right now, our next milestone, obviously every million is a milestone, but like our goal is really hitting 10 million. Like 10
Okay,
million
there we go. Yeah,
ARR is our next big chunk goal. Like for a long
yeah,
time, it was 1 million ARR. Now the needle post has moved on to 10
yeah.
million. So as of now, that's what we're looking towards, but we would love to continue to see it grow past that, obviously. But as of now, that's like the goalpost that we're looking at.
Right. Well, Jason Fried, the leader of Basecamp, you're familiar with in the
Yep,
marketing project management space, he was on the podcast, and of course, he's talked about this as long-term goals don't make any sense because you're going to do the best thing in the next step in the direction you're
exactly.
heading anyway, right? So,
Right.
and then you're going to figure out if that worked or didn't, and keep going or not. And so, yes, I totally appreciate that. What's the best next thing is yeah, you know, uh, founders that raise too much funding get ahead of themselves as opposed to
Mhm.
what is the next best thing for our customers,
Right.
for our users, and so forth. So you're effectively a bootstrap company. You raised somebody, but you spent all that on Rella
Yeah.
1.0, and now you did this without any other funding here. Live lean, and now it's slightly profitable and growing. Can you imagine this being very profitable? Let's see if we can get to 10 million on 20 people, and be as leveraged with AI and everything else that you
Yeah.
can be.
We would love to get to 10 million with 10 or less people. Like, that would be ideal.
Wow.
But we don't see ourselves as scaling the team super quickly. Obviously, if we need to, like, of course, everything will be a case by case basis. But I think too many startups think headcount is success. Like, oh, I have a team of 20 people. That must mean I'm successful. But we've done a lot with a really small team. And I really think now with AI, you can do a lot with a small team. So our goal is not to grow a big team. Our goal is to grow a big company that serves a lot of people, but not necessarily increasing the headcount. That's not success to us. So we were trying to keep it lean as long as we can. And obviously now we realize, okay, we need to hire these people. So we made that decision. We're going to hire them, but it's not just for the sake of hiring them. It's because we're hiring them to complete goals that we need to complete and to help us with projects that we need to do. And like our to-do list has gotten longer
Yeah,
and the time it takes to do it has gotten shorter. So that's why we're hiring them, but hopefully we can stay as lean as possible.
that's awesome. And very practical as well. So what an awesome story, building something that, found a home with customers and listening to them very closely, which is actually part of your go to market, right? You listen to them and they tell their friends, and you make a special connection with those early adopter users who are out there on the frontier and then telling the next generation. Our practical founders, peer groups, 45 founders in my groups right now and growing on this our Slack group this morning. Somebody said, What do you guys use for social media management that's more than just scheduling?" And I said, "Well, I'm interviewing Natalie from Rella today, so check that out." And because it handles everything across content creation, ideation to execution and everything else in there. And I didn't even know about your cool Ella AI story there. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's a simple message. I get it.
Yeah, and also happy to give your audience and your community a discount code
Awesome.
if you want. Yeah, so if they use the code PRACTICAL, they could get 10% off either 3 months
Okay.
or annual plans.
Well, there you go. Right there, making it happen. I really appreciate you being on the Practical Founders podcast, Natalie. What advice do you give most often? You actually have a podcast now, they're talking about your business lessons learned and, lots of YouTube channel and everything else. You're talking about a lot of different things here. But like, what is the lesson you give to founders who, are trying to get to 1 million or, say, how did you get to the other side? What is the most common thing you tell founders these days?
I would say to really listen to your audience and try whatever you can to get in front of them, whether that's demos, whether
Mm.
that's calls, whether that's go live on social media, whatever it is, get in front of your customers for free. I think when you pay them, sometimes they're not as honest. I don't know. I just feel like people are scared to be mean, or they're scared to give you real honest feedback because they think they're being mean. At least that's what I found.
Yep.
So usually when people are giving you feedback, it's in a state of like, I need to tell them this because it's frustrating or whatever. And that's like the best feedback you can get. So getting in front of them as much as you can, I think, is the number one piece of advice, and starting as small and niche as possible. So don't expand your demographic or your audience size. Really try to be narrow with the problem you're solving and who you're solving it for.
Oh, that's great. Well, great advice from the other side, and it's working for you. And best wishes for their journey here. I know it'll be stressful and exciting, and you're on your way. So congratulations with a wonderful Practical Founder success story.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this was great. I love chatting with you.
Thanks for being on the podcast, Natalie.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this week's interview on the Practical Founders podcast. Be sure to like this episode and subscribe to the Practical Founders YouTube channel to keep up with my weekly in-depth interviews with serious software founders who are building valuable software companies without big funding. You can check out my blog, all the podcast episodes, and information about my Practical Founders CEO peer groups at practicalfounders.com, or message me on LinkedIn if you'd like to connect. See you next week.